Ladies and gentlemen, it is official. I told people this, and I got some, I got people saying, "Oh, that's not true," and he's not gonna. He just purchased 9% of the company, and I said, "Nope, he's gonna buy the whole thing. Nothing's gonna stop him." And CNN, Twitter has agreed to sell itself to Elon Musk. Reuters, Elon Musk taking Twitter private in $44 billion deal. CNBC, Twitter accepts Elon Musk's buyout deal. This is the worst thing. This is purely political. Okay, the worst thing for the Democratic Party. Purely political. This is self-preservation on the part of the richest man in the world. Self-preservation. This has nothing to do. This is a horrible business investment. Well, it could turn out to be a great business investment because he will allow everybody from Donald Trump to the conservative pundit or the professional in any industry that Democrats or mainstream journalists feel are a huge obstacle to democracy. They'll even possibly give information deemed harmful to 70s rockers and to good, decent people everywhere trying to uphold democracy and save people from whatever scourge or problem there is. I'm speaking in roundabout terms because we have to. On this platform, we have to. Hopefully on Twitter, you won't have to. And I don't have Twitter, I don't have Facebook, but there's a fabricated consensus that is only upheld. There's a consensus in American politics and society upheld by coercion, bullying, economic intimidation, and Twitter is a huge part of that. Twitter is a way for wonderful, morally superior, highly educated, liberal Democrats who are great people to silence, denigrate, disparage, demean, suppress any individual, any voice that they deem to be harmful in any way, shape, or form. Could be Hunter's emails, could be the New York Post. Oh my God, an actual story that's true compared to the Steele dossier, a completely fabricated story that they amplified on Twitter. The platform is made to just amplify and redirect emotion or fabricate or manufacture emotion, indignation, angst, frustration, contempt, disdain, actual judgment, condemnation, preaching, and that's what the wonderful, morally superior liberal Democrats and also conservatives too. Everybody preaches and condemns and judges on Twitter. Nobody does it better than the Democratic Party. And when they level that condemnation machine, that judgment monstrosity, that cyber nightmare, that dystopian digital Freddy Krueger, Jason, Exorcist, Nightmare on Elm Street type of digital platform, when morally superior, wonderful, highly educated liberal Democrats level Twitter at somebody, they usually silence, suppress, marginalize, disparage that individual. It could be anybody from like I said, the Hunter Biden story, or it could be Trump working, being installed by another country. It didn't take much to convince tens of millions of people that Trump was installed. You even had Jake Sullivan and Madam Secretary and others tweeting fabricated stories that we know are fabricated now because of the Durham Probe Special Counsel. Hit subscribe, by the way, to this channel right now. We're almost at 200,000 subs. I don't have Twitter. I don't have Facebook. I don't think I'll ever get back on Twitter. But we'll see. I think hopefully Elon Musk makes it an actual platform, a public commons, forum, square, where people can actually speak. Where you won't have, caution, this information is derived from the Kremlin. If you read this information, you might get data and facts statistics and numbers and words that could influence your brain to potentially not address or listen to the consensus among experts derived by silencing and excommunicating experts who don't fall in line or agree. Caution! These emails attributed to Hunter have been said to be linked to the Kremlin. Signed, James Clapper. So, I mean, you saw this. Hit subscribe, by the way, to this channel. Hit subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel below in the pinned comment. To my super chat, thank you. Or to my, if you want to give a super thanks, below. To my super thanks, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. My Patreon is below if you want to give the Patreon, my new Patreons, thank you. But hit subscribe. This is a huge day. The worst thing that could ever happen to the Democratic Party. Now they can't cancel anybody. Oh my God, what are they going to do? What are they going to do if their ideas aren't good enough to overshadow or to defeat or to circumvent or to convince people that their version of democracy, silencing people and making sure Trump doesn't run again, like that's their version of democracy? What are they going to do if they can't create stories on Twitter? What are they going to do if AOC can't be retweeted? Well, AOC will be retweeted a million times still, but so will Donald Trump now. So will other conservative pundits or, any voice that they deem outside of the mainstream. Dissent is important in life, in American politics. It's important in the Supreme Court. You cannot silence dissenting opinions because your views or argument are weak. People who suppress and silence don't really care about being mean or speech that could offend. You will never get more vicious, mean, insulting. I mean, there's like glee in when they try to torment somebody. You'll never get people who enjoy tormenting others in the most insidious and gleeful manner than the wonderful, highly educated, left-leaning, faceless journalist or pundit hiding behind a fake profile on Twitter. You will never get a more sinister type of person. And then you have like journalists saying, "Oh my God, the conservatives are doing this." Like, no. Nobody has perfected the art of tormenting others. They didn't torment me because I don't care about if I just leave it. Like, I don't have Twitter, but I was never tormented on Twitter. I just left because it's a dystopian nightmare that's a waste of time. But what left-leaning people on Twitter do is they work every day to raise themselves up, to hide and to ignore all the corruption, which is the epicenter of corruption on their political side, and retweet and get retweeted and feel good about themselves that they're fighting for humanity with the latest symbol next to their name. Do you think for one moment the country being invaded in Europe right now, in Eastern Europe, and the geopolitical nightmare taking place while mashed potato brains Biden is in office, do you think they're helped at all by putting an icon or a symbol next to your name? Of course they're not at all. It makes you feel better, just like you put other words or symbols next to your name on Twitter. But that's Twitter. It's a way for people on the left to feel good about themselves, to ensure that their ideas aren't tarnished by better ideas. The mentality on the left is, well, speech comes with responsibility. Yes, the only responsibility speech comes with is to make sure, A, that you don't break existing laws, which were in existence prior to Twitter, long before Twitter was even created. And two, the only responsibility that comes with free speech, aside from following laws that predate Twitter, is to ensure that your ideas are better than Trump's. If you're so petrified that Donald Trump is saying things that you can't refute, even let's just say he's lying, your ideas, the fact that you are presenting to the world to debunk Trump should be so compelling that everyone is repulsed. But if 73 million Americans believe Trump or see his vantage point and you can't suppress him and you can't silence him, that's not so much, it's not so much that people are believing lies, it's that people are believing his suspicion. Twitter is a way to spray and harness emotions, to spread emotions. You can spray emotions like, a garden hose sprays water. On Twitter, it's all about emotion. So if he is leveling suspicion at Democrats, and Democrats can't counter that with caution, this is the Washington Post's 1000th fact check. Well, maybe Trump is going to level suspicion to where people think twice about things. Or people say, hey, wait a second, that doesn't make sense. More people will begin to watch Joe Rogan, oh my God. More people will begin to watch Russell Brand, oh my God. Two of the best people on the internet today. Do you want to know the people who believe the greatest myths? They're the ones who think that Trump was still installed, even though there's no evidence at all, and they don't realize that, oh yes, governments can also, and media can also perpetuate and promulgate myths, hoaxes, conspiratorial nonsense. They think, there's people who think because CNN and MSNBC and the government says something that it must be true. And then you had you're like President Obama talking about how, there was a group of Fox News voters who watched CNN. They were conservatives. Okay, there's not one conservative on the planet who will watch CNN for even if it was the fate of humanity was dependent upon this study, they would never watch it. So you get like the Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger type of, conservative, and they're watching CNN, and oh my God, their views changed. But CNN Plus tanked within a week or 2 weeks or a month. Nobody, the only people who watch CNN and MSNBC or really truly read the Washington Post or New York Times are lifelong liberal Democrats who will only vote blue no matter who. And now they're going to have to contend with vile people, ghouls. This is what they're called, on left-leaning publications, a conservative politician. This is a ghoul. The Monster Mash. It was a graveyard smash. The ghouls. He's a ghoul. A left-leaning ghoul. A right-leaning ghoul. They're so, petrified. They're so frightened. I mean, it's the worst thing to happen politically to the Democratic Party. Because now Twitter will not be used as a mouthpiece to silence any debate or discussion, and most importantly, to prevent emotions from being utilized by conservatives in the manner they're utilized by liberals. Suspicion, distrust, frustration, angst, contempt, disdain. Oh my God, you thought you had a monopoly on those emotions, didn't you? Democratic strategist. Well, now you have conservatives or anyone you ban. Even good, like experts are now going to hopefully speak their mind without fearing, oh my God, this 70s rocker says that your information has harmed people and has cost people to lose their lives. Really? How many? Why doesn't the 70s rocker take anybody to court? Oh, that's right. Because it's a fear tactic. You can't say that information. More people have lost their lives from this type of information. Well, okay, what's the information? And give me the number of people and give me the lawsuit. Oh, that's right. You don't know any of them. You don't have any of that information. Oh, you just want to silence people. You want to intimidate people. Look, who was that? There was this young man in his 20s who raised $1 million for Children's Hospital. I mean, this is like a mitzvah. This is like a good deed, okay? In Hebrew, it's called a mitzvah. Judaism is called like a good deed. You want to do these good deeds in your life, right? And then an intrepid journalist found out that on Twitter 10 years earlier, he said things that were mean. And then the weak cowards at the marketing department of the beer company that, I mean, he did it for, like, it was with a beer company, and he raised, it was like even before he just like started drinking this beer. I forgot exactly what it was, but it was like $1 million that, you know, he publicized this beer company, and the beer company then, you know, did this like promotional thing with the young man in his 20s, and then this intrepid journalist, can't think it was in Iowa, came out and found tweets from 10 years back. And then the journalist had tweets, and it was kicked out of the newspaper. I mean, this is the left. You have YouTubers. You have one left-leaning YouTuber who has almost 1 million subs, or maybe, I think, over 1 million subs. And then there was a journalist who went and called his university, according to him. And then he's the one who says there's no canceling on Twitter. Okay? Called his university to say something about him, who knows, according to him. And then he says, Twitter, there's no bias. It's fine. If you go on Wikipedia, if it's a liberal journalist or a Washington Post journal or any journalist that actually has been criticized by conservatives, you'll never see that in the first paragraph, and you might never see it in the entire entry. But you will see a conservative journalist or publication criticized by the Washington Post. It'll be front and center. First paragraph. Or whatever disparaging comment from, you know, the mainstream publications, which are actually not so mainstream. You can't have a mainstream publication that's always left-leaning if half the electorate voted for Trump, when 95% of the media coverage just disparaged him. This is the worst thing to happen to one political party, okay? You won't have this monstrosity, this digital nightmare. And I'm assuming that, okay, I talked about this yesterday. Elon Musk is purchasing Twitter because he knows it's going to be used against him if he doesn't. He knows it's going to be used against him if he doesn't. That's 17 minutes into this. He knows that if he does not purchase Twitter, that it'll be used against him. Other car companies, Jeff Bezos in space, other billionaires who have, you know, who want to encroach upon, you know, his empire, whether it's electric vehicles or SpaceX or whatever. He knows that it could be a Musk dossier, and they'll believe it. They'll just need 500 intelligence professionals to say that Elon Musk and his company is influenced by Russian operatives. And then you'll have the wonderful, highly educated liberals who drive his cars, by the way, say, I'm not going to buy a Tesla if Putin is influencing Musk. Well, it says that in a Musk dossier. Well, James Clapper wouldn't lie. I'd rather drive a Ford EV or whatever, General Motors EV or Nissan or whatever. I'm not gonna. It said, 10, 15 years ago, Musk said something or did something, and oh my God, it's all over Twitter now. Well, that's less likely to happen. Or the people defending Musk will be less likely to be suspended. Or Musk would be less likely to be suspended because he owns the thing. So he ain't going to ever be suspended. That's another thing. I never really thought about it until this second. He'll never be suspended off of Twitter because he owns it. And they could have easily found a way to suspend him somehow with a Musk dossier or whatever. Anyway, hit subscribe to this channel. Mazel tov. Amazing thing. Beautiful. Wonderful. I mean, what can you say? Of course, Bernie Sanders, who was cheated every 4 years. I'm cheated again. I think I'll run again to funnel votes back into the Democratic Party. He and AOC, all of these people are probably going to be today, all the blue check marks. Oh my, why does he want to buy Twitter? But why? Because now you'll have to actually compete with ideas. Now you'll have to actually face competition in terms of suspicion, distrust, incredulity. All of these things that you tried to keep under wraps. The whole thing with Twitter is that and it generates and suppresses emotions. Now you're not going to have that ability. That's the worst thing. It's Democrats lived off of Twitter. Republicans really don't. Democrats derive spiritual sustenance from Twitter. Republicans don't. Do Republicans condemn and judge on Twitter? Yeah. But Democrats, my God, if they can't silence people, that's a huge arrow and just a huge benefit they have. Now it's like even this rivals Clinton losing the 2016 to Trump, which is what I also said to people, and nobody believed me. Anyway, hit subscribe to this channel right now. Hit subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel. I'll have a segment below. Thank you.